Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. No live stream this morning as things have been more or less subdued. We do have a few things to discuss, but I wanted to have a very focused video today on exactly Bitcoin, maybe a few other ones as well if they do fit in, and hopefully make it a little bit on the shorter side as well, because there is actually some very interesting things going on that could be happening as soon as a little bit later today. But with that said, it's all a setup right now. It's all preparation, it's all planning times, and you probably have noticed like it's seemingly away from this market right now, which typically when you do see things obviously happen, and that is when it is best, tactically speaking, to be putting your time into this. So with that said, let's get into the Krown Chain application over here, which we found at app.krownchain.net. And what do we see? We do see that Bitcoin dominance continues to slightly edge a little bit higher, as you would expect, with Bitcoin, well, more or less running the show as usual. But what does this essentially suggest? It suggests that we are still seeing the uptrend in Bitcoin dominance continue. And if that is true, then that means, or at least it implies, that we are looking at this next mega trending move very, 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 very soon. And altcoins very likely do not do too damn well against their Bitcoin Satoshi pairing. However, doesn't mean that they won't be doing well versus their US dollar pairing. That's going to be a function of whether Bitcoin moves the upside or the downside. We'll discuss that once we get into the actual price action charts. Anyways, on top of that, Fear and Greed Index at a 21 right now, which is pretty much the same thing that we have been seeing for the past couple months here. And if we go into the market data tab, I think that it does deserve a little bit of a call out right here, that we do see global funding rate is ever so slightly negative, not anything too consequential right here. But, you know, if you want to make a little bit of a boolah hopium right there, a little bit less likely to break down, at least today, that is below about 31,000 bucks. I would not put my full faith in that, obviously, but more importantly, what it essentially suggests, well, if you've been holding short positions for a while now, you've just been more or less bleeding, assuming that you're going for like the big trade. Now, if you're going for more the short and medium term trades, probably fine, because there's been several, $5,000 plus moves within the midst of this range, which are both tradable to the upside and the downside. But for the people who have been holding positions for a while now, it's been about 2 months of consistently negative rates. Not anything, again, too out of the too out of left field, but does deserve a little bit of consideration now that it has been about 2 months. On top of that, we do see that global exchanges net flows is actually positive once again. What does that mean? It means that inflow is greater than outflow, meaning that people are putting their Bitcoins, they're putting their cryptos on exchanges right now. And why would you do that? It's to leverage to buy more, right? And that's a sign of a very healthy market. Anyways, other than that, things are more or less the same here. We see open interest actually falling off a little bit from yesterday to today. So we really haven't seen anything that's too much out of the ordinary there. And we'll go into the actual price charts themselves right here, right now, starting off with the most important thing today, and that is our BBWP indicator. We are seeing it come down pretty much all the way for all intended purposes, down to about 0 to 1 percentile. We got down, technically speaking, to about 1.59 percentile a couple days ago. That is the lowest that we have seen in actually almost a year, going back to October 2020. And to give you an insight of like what we've seen in the not so distant past was April of this year, on the 11th actually, when we did get down to about 6.75 percentile. Again, very, 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 very low right there, and that did precipitate the big move from about 65,000 bucks almost immediately down to about 47,500 bucks. So we saw a pretty damn fast move happen from that, and a pretty massive move nonetheless. And if you go back and test these all, of which we've done this a few times, and I don't want to go over all the examples right here, you'll notice that in general these do typically produce 30 to 50% moves at minimum, and in some cases to the upside, multi-100% of moves over time. Anyways, if we look at this move right here, almost immediately about 30% right there, and for the rest of it, realistically about 54%, which is what it really is. And then on top of that, we do see this one over here coming in from October. That was an unabated move to the upside over the next couple months, almost 100% right there, from about 10,000 to 20,000 bucks before the next daily pullback, if you will. On top of that, we got this example right here. This one's a little bit more on the muted side, but do not let it deceive you on this logarithmic graph, or logarithmic chart. Jesus Christ, man, I just broke like the cardinal rule of charting. But more importantly, that was about 40% as well, and that was again on the lower side if you do go back and measure out all of these. Now, of course, volatility can stay low for a very long time. We did see it in the not so distant past, about a year ago actually, from all the way in June, or actually, yeah, about early June, I would say, to where was this right here? Actually, middle of July, in fact. So about a month and a half in this very, 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 very low volatile area right here. But ultimately, it did lead up for a major move. And of course, you could just look at that as general continuation over a long period of time. There's several examples over here. Again, I'll just briefly touch on them, but we're looking at about a 50% move right there, and so on and so forth. So again, I strongly suggest that you do this yourself, so that you can see kind of what we're very likely looking at here. But it should be denoted that if we are going to be looking for expansion coming in from this level, obviously that is going to be direction neutral. So if we are looking for support from this level, I would be looking at just, kind of playing around with numbers here from the totality of the height of this consolidation, a 50% move to the downside, which was, kind of par for the course. I would say on average would take Bitcoin down to about 20,000 bucks if that volatility expansion does come in that direction, and about 30,000, or sorry, and about 40% would take Bitcoin down around about 24 to 25,000 bucks as well. So, those are very consistent with what we have seen in the past. Now, of course, this can come to the upside here too, and that essentially is consistent with our targets. If Bitcoin does expand to the upside, obviously low $40,000 territory, anywhere between about 43 to 44 on a 30% move, and on a 50% move, Bitcoin just under 50,000 bucks with, potential for more as well. Of course, we still do have the death cross on exponential moving averages right here. It's not the best example of one, but as long as Bitcoin is below all major moving averages, you do have to be cognizant of that. And we even see the daily jewel still with its downside posturing. Now, if you do have access to the jewel and you see this turn white on the next tick or two with not breaking this this more slow moving oscillator right here, I'd look at that as a pretty damn good signal, at least for a bit of a short-term, medium-term bounce extension. But for right now, it's still downside pressure, obviously. Anyways, on top of that, we do see daily confirming hidden bearish divergence a couple days ago. 2-day, I think, confirmed it last night, and 3-day, actually not there. So with that said, there is still downside pressure here. But if you want the Bula hopium right now, it's the same thing that we spoke about yesterday, essentially. And for all that it's worth, I don't really, I would not be trading this right now unless we have access to options, of which I don't even have my my testnet account up right now, because we're still in the range. We're still in the range. Nothing's changed here. Anyways, if we put this on right here, you're looking at, or at least Bulas are looking at, something resembling a falling channel. Statistically speaking, this is a more bullish resolve formation than not. However, as with anything, you can break out to the upside or the downside, which is why people hate technical analysis. It's like, oh, so you're saying it can go up or down? Yes, exactly. But the statistics is what you need to be aware of. And in this case, I think this has like a low 60% probability to actually break to the upside. And in this case, where would your confirmation of that be? It actually wouldn't be right here, because I think I did that on a 10-hour. But if we're doing this on a 4-hour, just look at the last lower high right here. It's going to be about 34,450-ish region, or wherever this downtrending line comes in, which at current price action would be pretty much right there anyways. And if we do see any sort of a closure above there, or just even a higher high above this guy right here, and that would be on a wick basis about 34,650 or so, then I would be looking for the measurement move to play out all the way up to our last weekly high at about 36.5 or so. Probably short-term pullback there, and then potential for more to the top side of the daily range here, which would be about 40 to 41,000 bucks. With that in mind, until that happens, that is just not a relevant trade at all. And of course, if Bitcoin does come back down and take out the last low, well, we're still within a downtrend. I mean, this is still quite literally a downtrend. This is why I do not like channels myself. I pretty much only like triangles if it comes to pattern trading, especially in Bitcoin land. But channels are okay. Like I said, just I think it's like 62%. Statistically speaking, to actually work in that fashion. But in this case right here, as long as Bitcoin's just trending down, if Bitcoin does break that last low, I would be looking for Bitcoin to hit our bottom side area on this range at about 31,000 bucks. We did bounce off the top side of the blue box territory. I think that was early yesterday, about 31.5. So coming back down there, I don't think that would operate in that fashion again. Very likely looking at a move towards 31,000 bucks, and probably another pity bounce there at the very least. I would not necessarily get full on bearish looking for major massive downside targets to be hit until Bitcoin does close below about 31,000 bucks at the very least. Technically speaking, you'd probably want to see about 30,800-ish region, and then I would be looking for a somewhat quick move somewhere down around 27,000 bucks right here. I believe that is probably also synonymous with some sort of fib target there too, but regardless, it is nice structural area. Anyways, with that said, I would be looking for a bounce there. Could we potentially see a trap situation? Yeah, it's definitely possible. I think that there's two major areas to be mindful of potential bear traps going on. That would be one at about 30,000 bucks. As you can see, all these wicks accumulated within that region right here. In fact, I'll just mark it off right now because why not? It's going to be right around about 30,000 bucks. It looks like right around there. Whoopsies, there we go. And then also just around 27,000 bucks right here as well. And what it would look like if it were to happen is you'd see Bitcoin break down, just kind of edge its way down, and then you'd see a major wick by closure back above probably 30,000 or 31,000 bucks. Or, well, in the case of 30,000 getting tested, it'd probably be 31.5 or 32,000 bucks. In the case of 27 getting tested, it'd be closing back above about 30,000 bucks. See one of those two things, that would be a pretty damn good indication of a bear trap. But for what it's worth right now, now, we don't really see that. I mean, we don't really see anything. I mean, nothing's too much new right here. Anyways, with that said, is there anything else that I want to get off of right now? Yes, so let's look at the Gaussian channel once again. Hey, show me the damn channel. There we go. Hold on. Lovely. And what do you know? The bottom side of the Gaussian channel is coming in where? It's pretty much coming in. It's actually a little bit lower than our last lower high on the daily in this case. If we go back to, of course, our chart over here with the falling channel, that would actually be just about in line with the top side resistance of that falling channel. So good confluence right there. If Bitcoin were to take that out, meaning even just close on a new high above here, or just take out the wick high from the prior from the prior daily high right there, that again would be about 11th of July, same number. Then I would be looking for, at the very least, a test towards wherever the median is. At this point, it's currently at about just under 39,000 bucks, and that would essentially align with, well, what we spoke about earlier, in the sense that if Bitcoin does start to break this area right here, yes, you do have a quick target towards about 36.5, but very likely that does get picked up again, and you do test the top side of the range. It's not calling like a big breakout to the upside or anything like that. Still have to deal with the $40,000 level that I think has been, or I mean, you could even say like 39,000 bucks right now. That has been defended quite well by the bears here, putting this little bull trap right here from the 14th, 15th of July. And more importantly, on top of that, if Bitcoin could actually start to take that area out, which is also in line with the 200 exponential average as well, just right around 39,000 bucks or so, I would be looking for a run, typically speaking, towards the top side of the Gaussian channel, and that would be where? That's your $43.5 to $44,000 target, the same one that we spoke about. That was kind of in line with like a volatility expansion from historical relevancy narrative. Anyways, my point is that it's still boring as fuck. It's still boring as fuck. That's what I'm trying to say. What I've done here also is I've also added another insight into a little bit of bull hopium, or added some insight into bull hopium. No, my point is what I've done is I've tried to provide a little bit more bull hopium here too, because most things are bearish right now. And if you do reference the long-term analysis video, which I've been updating over the past few weeks here, then you know that we still got a lot of ways to go, and there are certainly, like I said, a lot more bearish things and bullish things going on right now. But until we actually break these levels, I probably wouldn't be calling it either which way. Anyways, or at least I wouldn't be trading either which way, unless you can trade options. But in this case right here, what I did is I took a Fibonacci retracement, a bullish retracement that actually is from our last major macro breakout. That's your $20,000 region right here to our current all-time high, essentially. And as you can see, we're not really actually doing anything that's super concerning from a fib retracement perspective just yet. Yes, you certainly can come down to what is, or you can barely see it right here, but this is the 786 Fibonacci retracement right here. That's not super concerning. Below the 786 is pretty concerning. Below the 886 is mega concerning, and that's where you're not fucking bullish below there, at least in my experience. Yes, some people say that you can come down to the 942. I don't see it too often. In this case, a lot of the time people will be looking at the 618. You certainly have seen it hold about a lot of merit. It's actually right in smack dab in the middle of this mega range right here on the daily. So it does hold a lot of weight. And if Bitcoin can get back above there, yeah, I would be looking for that move into like the mid or low $40,000 territory. And maybe Bitcoin can pick itself up over time. But for right now, it's pressure down, obviously. And if we go back down to our short-term time frame charts over here, let me get rid of this for the time being. Let's see what our short-term time frame momentum oscillators are suggesting right now. We actually do see hidden bearish divergence on 4-hour RSI. This one's not super concerning to me. It's very likely to get rejected from testing the prior little breakdown area coming in from 13th of July right here to about 33.2 or so. However, this would also give a little bit of a short-term edge for a trade to the upside as well. Assuming that Bitcoin essentially takes out this high right here. It's not looking too hot right there, to be fair, but if Bitcoin were to trade above this high, it doesn't even need to close above it for myself at 33,169.5. I would be looking for Bitcoin to mount an assault basically up to 34,000 bucks. That puts us almost in line with the topside resistance and almost around that last prior lower high as well. So, then you're within striking distance, and perhaps, we do see that continuation, but I'd still want to see Bitcoin at the very least trade above this or close above it, whichever one happens first going to be good enough. And then, yeah, things would look a little bit more rosy in the short term. Anyways, with that said, 4-hour Joule is still giving a bit of a continuation signal right here, which is fine. I mean, it's not bad, I suppose. Actually, I'm going to get rid of no, I'll leave on the purple for right now. And we see volatility is actually trending down right now in the short-term time frame. So not really seeing anything of particular interest at this exact moment. Buy hourly is doing what? It's kind of flip-flopping around right here. If you do have the Joule, what I'd be looking for is this blue to play out. And if you see it start to curl around the pink right here and turn white, that would be a good indication that Bitcoin will very likely give another try back up and probably actually break it on the next pass. But for right now, it is pressure down, yes, and hourly is doing what? Same thing, and did not pick up the pink in this case, but still got the yellow right there. However, that again would be pressure down until that at the very least turns white, which is just neutral, and then you want to see cyan. But we do see that volatility starting to spruce up a little bit here on the hourly, which has actually been a really fucking like amazing time frame as of recently. You know, for like actually the last month and a half, the hourly has been honestly like where it's at, where a lot of money's at right now. Anyways, again, you know, make no mistake about it. Despite all this, and despite all of the hopium bull posting, it's a hard one to love, right? It's a hard one to love right now, but hey, man, you know, I've been kind of saying this for the last couple of months here. The best case for Bula still is just going sideways above about $30,000. That can come with some wicks down below $30,000, of course. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin is certainly under pressure right here. And it should be denoted that we still do not have the three major things that I'm looking for to denote a Bitcoin macro low. Until Bitcoin gets at the very least a goddamn blue buy signal on the hash rate indicator over here, there's no talks of of a macro low being in. The ball is certainly in the bearish court right here, but you can see that the Bulas do have a bit of a path, but still needs, you know, at least I'd like to see a daily uptrend, you know. Anyways, until we get that, there's no talks, at least from my side, about macro low in. Next thing, I'd want to see a higher low at the very base minimum for Bitcoin on the daily, and preferably a higher high plus a higher low in this case. But as you can see right here, we're still actually trending down. And where's our last little lower high? Well, again, that would be your 34,250 or so area. So everything aligning with that region right now. It does hold a lot of significance, but you know, we're living well below it, and until Bitcoin does take it back above, I do think that, you know, it's kind of buyer beware. I'm not saying that you can't be successful doing that. It's just you are quite literally trading against the trend, and the trend will be your friend if you just let it be. You just have to let it be. Anyways, daily MACD is actually rather interesting here too. It kind of did salvage itself right by closure last night as well. It is kind of creeping up towards the neutral zone, which is typically an inflection point, but I would say this, as long as we are above 32,200, we will naturally see it continue to remain with upside posturing, but it will draw ever so closer on the next close as well. And if that starts to cross down alongside Bitcoin being at the bottom side of the range, alongside hidden bearish divergence on a lot of the higher term timeframes, I probably would be looking for Bitcoin to break down at that point. So, you know, if you're bearish, you're probably looking for a break, you know, sometime between today and next week, I'd say. If you're bullish, you're looking for sideways, I'd imagine, more or less. And that can come with a rally up to, you know, mid $40,000 territory and then fall back down to the mid 30s. I still do think that that's, you know, somewhat, I wouldn't say that it's like super likely to happen, but it's certainly within the realm of possibilities. And realistically, I just don't think that there's a major long-term rush to get in position right here, unless if you are just like literally dollar cost averaging. But I suspect that a lot of people who say that they're long-term, they're not like actually long-term. And you also have to consider opportunity costs as well. Anyways, I realize this video is already 17 minutes long, which is probably too long, but I do want to show some bullshit over here, because why the hell not, man? The witch has out-traded me. No, the witch, well, perhaps she actually has, in at least the last couple months right here, or at least the last month right here. This has not been, I haven't really been making too many trades right here, to be fair. But what do you know? We got a bear moon, so it's going down. No, I mean, that, you know, it does have a decent history here. You know, I'd reserve judgment, of course, on that. Look, just backtest yourself and see what you come up with. I'm not saying that I'd ever trade this myself, but it is rather interesting to look at, of course, and it's kind of hard to argue against results as well. But more importantly, we also do see this Fibonacci time extension, which again is another thing that I'm no expert with. But I do think it's rather interesting that it has gotten a lot of these inflection points on price action. So what I did here is I took a fib extension, and credit to Mr. Paranoid of the Discord for pointing this one out, basically from the October breakout on the macro scale, and plotted it against the February highs right here. And as you can see, it's gotten, well, all the highs thus far. So you get this, well, obviously this one right here, but that's your first extension, second extension, third extension, all mega highs right there. This one a little bit off, but still very much interesting as well, as it just got it about 2 days, about 2 days late right there on the highs. And once again, we are going to be brushing up against the fib time extension tomorrow, in fact. So with that in mind, I do think that we are going to be looking at an inflection point alongside the volatility signature that we did look at earlier, very, very soon here. I think no more than a week, probably even today or tomorrow, if I had to guess. Hopefully sooner rather than later, so that I can deliver myself from this goddamn boredom, but fair enough, man. Anyways, is there anything else that I wanted to talk about? Did we close a 5-day yesterday? We did. 5-day looks like shit. Looks like shit, smells like shit, probably shit. Usually not. Yeah, that's not good. So again, another bearish thing right there. Let's see what the Gaussian channel says on this one. Yeah, this is rather concerning right here, actually. Okay, so for the first time in this whole run, we've actually broken below the median of the Gaussian channel. Typically speaking, traditionally speaking, you will set up for a bottom side test of that afterwards. And guess where that is? That's around the $26,500 to $27,000 target on a breakdown. My first target that, that I'd be looking at right there. Again, potential trappy situations could arise, but I need to see like a daily closure back above 30,000 bucks on volume and reclaim the fucking crab range once again. And then, we probably do see this one salvage itself, but for right now, it is certainly pressure down. So is there anything else that I wanted to get on over here? It probably should be denoted as well that, momentum oscillators like Stokes right here could very easily turn up, but they're all coming in around the same inflection points. We do see daily at around 33,373, 12 hours going to be 32,7, basically 800. Buy daily is 32,200. 3-day is actually crossing down right now as long as it's below 34, and that's actually basically the last lower daily high as well. And 5-day really wouldn't take too much as well. I mean, all we need to do is close above 32.5 here too. So if Bitcoin could, take out that $34,000 high, I do think that this could propel a nice little move here, but still, the trend is your friend until the end of the trend, and volume profile once again making this rather obvious, I do think. If we go back here and just look at the actual consolidation, what do you know? Volume profile, major point of control coming in right around the high side of this range that we've been in for the last few weeks essentially. So make it no more complicated than that. Overall pressure down still, momentum oscillator is mostly pointing down, and while there is a little bit of hopium on this side, I would not be looking for any like sustained upside as long as Bitcoin is, especially below about 34,250-ish region. Can obviously play in this channel for a little bit longer, but I do think that we're looking at resolution probably within the next between today, Thursday, and tomorrow, Friday, and if not, then extremely likely next week. I do think that this is the time, so fair enough. With that said, I'd like to wish you the best and the haps of the happiest, and hopefully see you soon. Take care.